I think the moral of this story is stop taking things at face value and do the research yourself.
I agree full-heartedly.
You do full-heartedly.
Golly.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!
Hello, everybody. It's time for more Law Light, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, FWHlegal.com. I've got some cinnamon cookie crumble donut coffee. I didn't know that you could have cookie donut.
There's a whole lot going. That's a lot to unpack in just some coffee.
And you know what? It just doesn't have that much flavor. I'm kind of let down by that, PJ.
Here's what. So he's talking about. You're talking about the Keurig pods.
Yeah, right.
Every single one of the Keurig pods that I've tried, that like the duos, or the mixtures, the concoctions that you're talking about, I've not found any that I enjoy. They all taste weird or gross. Yeah. I can't get into it.
I wonder what kind of chemical concoction they've come up with to make it try to taste like it. Because doesn't a cinnamon cookie crumble donut sound like...
Oh, yeah. The actual thing would be great.
But it doesn't translate to a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Plus it burns the thing right there.
Yeah. Here's the other thing, and I know people's tastes are different, but like when I smell coffee, to me, coffee has this just incredibly delicious aroma.
But it doesn't.
But it does not taste. It's like gasoline.
Well, I've never drank.
I've never drank gasoline, but like the smell.
I've actually had gas I haven't swallowed it, but I've had gas in my mouth.
Oh, yikes! Like you were siphoning.
I was siphoning, and I didn't feel it. I was holding. The way you siphon is you kind of put a U shape so that you can feel it come through your hand through the hose. Enough time to back off. I did not feel it come through the hose, and it splashed up in my mouth and my nose. It was bad. Yeah.
Oh, at least you didn't get it in your eyes.
Yeah, well, you're right. It tasted. I mean, I've had enough gas in my mouth to taste it. It was bad.
Yeah, I've never tasted gas. When I was a kid, I used to love the smell of gas. And Connor will do that. We'll go to the gas station, and Connor will sit there and go, doesn't that smell good? And I'll go, are you talking about the gasoline smell? And he goes, yeah, it smells really good.
My grandfather, he smoked Lucky Strikes unfiltered. And we would be in the car when he would first light it and puff it. That first smell was like almost a sweet tobacco smoke smell. Then after that, it was, nasty cigarette smoke.
Right.
But I always liked that very first puff and light of his Lucky Strike cigarettes.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of that, one time, I'll tell you a funny story before we get going here. My grandfather was working on a car, and I was on one side, and I was little. And he was like, he had, I guess it was like a vacuum hose that was like, they have these little hoses. And he goes, I think this thing's blocked. He goes, see if it's, and so he goes, blow through it. And I believe, it was a thin diameter hose. So it was like kind of hard to blow through,
Yeah.
He goes, see if you're getting anything when you suck back through it. And I did like that. He goes, do it again. I think I'm feeling it. And like that, and he was trying to see. When I sucked, I thought he was trying to test the vacuum on it to see if it was pulling air through. Mm-hmm. I did it a third time, and I wasn't looking. I was just kind of doing like this, and he stuck his cigarette in the end of that hose. Oh. And I took a big draw of that thing, and it filled my lungs up like with cigarette smoke. And he goes, that's why you don't want to smoke these things. Like I was coughing and hacking, and it was terrible. And so my grandfather was like, that's why you don't smoke these. And of course I was young. I said, well, then why do you do it, Grandpa?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I grew up around cigarette smoke, and I got hot boxed in the car many times looking back on it. But I also grew up in a time when your parents weren't like, put your seatbelt on, like as soon as you get in the car. I can remember standing up in the front seat with my back against the ceiling. and I would have rocketed out of the car had we gotten into a wreck.
All right, so we're here at the Pottycast.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you had something planned today. Of course, I had a few things, so I'm going to let you jump in with your topic of discussion, and then we will look at some work ethic issues.
Cool. So now I share an office with John, so on occasion he and I will get into a conversation. And the other day we were talking about like his great-grandmother, don't quote me on that, that's probably wrong, was what's called a thrush doctor. And I was like, what exactly is a thrush doctor? So he is like explaining to me that like when people would have mouth issues, she would go over to their homes and she would like breathe into their mouths, and there was supposed to be she had some kind of like healing ability, right? And I was like, that sounds like a superstition or something. How do you determine who has healing properties within their mouths to be a thrush doctor? Now she got paid to do this, and really it was a sham, because it was based off of an old wives' tale. If your father died before you were born, you were supposedly gifted with this ability to be able to heal people who had mouth disorders and diseases. So then you could become what's called like a thrush doctor and get paid for that. So it's like a snake oil salesman, only it's completely based off of superstition. I thought that's bizarre that was even a thing, but we all know at one time people were terrified of werewolves and vampires for real, and witches.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we started looking up old wives' tales, and I came across this list that had like 14 different old wives' tales. What's scary is, as I was going through it, and I consider myself to be a pretty reasonable guy, as I'm going through this list, I was like, wait a minute, I thought that was real. I started realizing things that I, even to that moment, I thought was actual science. Come to find out, it's not. It's superstition or
So
a
wait a
wives'
minute.
tale.
So what you're telling me is that you had put your faith in things that turned out not to be true.
Right, but I think the moral of this story is stop taking things at face value and do the research yourself.
I agree full-heartedly.
You do full-heartedly.
Golly, it's Friday.
So here's what I want. I wanted to go through this list very quickly and see
how many,
which ones maybe you thought were real.
No, let's do this. What you have to do is you have to put some real ones in there, and I have to determine if that's real or if that's a wives' tale.
Well, I didn't go that far.
Well, that would be the fun game.
That would be.
Like, it's kind of like, is this a wives' tale or is this truth?
Would you want to hold off on this and then we'll come back next time?
We can do this.
You're like, let's just get this over with.
Let's get this over with, this stupid wives' tale thing.
Okay. Number one, right out of the gate.
That's not true. Oh, wait.
I thought
Go ahead.
Was real. Swimming after eating will give you debilitating cramps. I thought if you ate, you had to wait 30 minutes before you got in the water. I thought that was legit science.
I used to go to, when I would spend my summers up in Ohio on my grandmother's farm, we would get rewarded with going into a little town called Fredericktown to go swimming. And they had a rule that if you ate something from the little snack bar, you had to go and eat that in a certain area, and then you weren't allowed to get back into the water. It seemed like they did 15 minutes, but they would make you rest before you got in the water because they said it would develop cramps.
Yeah.
It might not develop cramps that will make you drown, okay?
Right, and that's what this is saying.
That's right. That's what it is. Oh, you'll get cramps and it'll make you drown. That's not true. But now, as you know, we've talked about several times, I've done a lot of Ironman training, which is a lot of swimming.
Right.
And when you do pre-workout drinks or pre-workout, you eat something so that you have sustained energy,
Right.
So I would eat these, Cliff Bars or things like that about 15 to 20 minutes before I'd swim. And I had noticed sometimes that if I didn't wait, 20 or 30 minutes after I'd eaten my pre-workout, I would feel kind of a little bit of a stomach cramp. It wasn't like cramps in my arms or legs, but I would get a stomach cramp until that had kind of hit the digestive tract,
right.
So I do think it's like anything else. It's like anything, really. If you eat and then go do something real quick, your belly's saying, wait a minute, we need to digest this food, right?
Right. And that's what this is saying.
But that's what I think probably how that one got perverted over the years,
Well, it says that you do get cramps because blood is sent to your stomach to aid in digestion, but it's not enough to keep your arms and legs from functioning.
Right. It's a
so
belly
you can
cramp.
Get a small cramp, but nothing fatal. Now, this I knew wasn't true chew, but I still tell my kids this because I want to keep it perpetuated. But chewing gum stays in your stomach for 7 years.
Yeah, that's a good one. I would have known that, but yeah, it's funny.
I still tell my kids that.
I used to tell the girls, if you chew gum and when you have your first baby, it'll come out on top of its head.
Okay, this one I thought was real. Human urine heals jellyfish stings.
Today, March the 11th, 2022, is the first time that I ever heard that. I'd never heard that before.
You've never heard that ever?
No, and I grew up in Florida.
You never heard that if you get stung by a jellyfish,
Pee on it?
To pee on it?
No.
Because this is what I was told, that the ammonia in the urine helps soothe the sting. Here's the truth.
Probably makes it worse.
According to the Mayo Clinic, you have to remove the stinger with fine-tipped tweezers. That if you pee on it, it's not the ammonia, it's the warmth. So they say if you soak the affected area in hot water, you could take a hot shower for 20 to 45 minutes. So if someone were to pee on your sting, it would soothe it, but it's not the ammonia, it's the warmth from the heat of the urine.
Have you ever heard of the weed that grows like in the woods or in fields called nettles?
Okay, I thought that was going in a different direction. I was like, I have some friends who know about
nettles.
Weeds.
Nettles.
No, I've never heard of that.
All right, nettles are terrible, man. If you get into them, they burn you immediately. It's just a terrible, intense burn. They have these little fibers on the underneath of the leaf, and so when you brush up against them, and they're in the woods, again, this is childhood up at my grandma's in the woods. We'd go through there.
Right.
If you got into a patch of nettles, you would know it. When Grandma would always warm milk. It probably wasn't anything about the milk. It was the warmth of it, now that I look back on it. But she would always, if we came in crying with nettle stings, she would warm up some milk and put that on there, and or soak a rag in warm milk and put that on there, and it would take out the burn.
Right.
I had never heard the jellyfish sting one though.
Yeah, I had always heard that.
But the warmth thing makes sense.
Yeah, there's I can't remember which Jackass movie it is, but
where they pee on each other.
Well, not exactly. No, what happened was Steve-O pees in a jug, and then they go out in the ocean and they catch a jellyfish, and then he takes the jellyfish and sticks it on his head and allows himself to be stung, and then of course he takes the urine and starts dumping it on his head. It's funny if you think that sort of thing is funny, but once again, that whole skit is based off of that wives' tale, which I thought was real up until like 3 days ago.
Right. Oh, good. Let's go to the next one. I like these. Next one.
Okay, I knew this one wasn't true. Coffee stunts your growth.
I don't know if kids have too much caffeine, can it?
No, it doesn't stunt your growth. It just makes them overly hyper, and it causes elevated anxiety and sleeplessness, restlessness, stuff like that. Because what's funny is Connor's wanted to drink coffee for a very long time, and every time he would ask to drink it, I would be like, no, it'll stunt your growth. It'll stunt your growth. And then finally one day, this was a few years ago, I was like, what does coffee do to kids? And I looked it up, and that's when I found out it doesn't stunt your growth, but I just didn't want to give him coffee to make him go nuts. So I kept lying to him and told him it would stunt his growth so I wouldn't have to give him any coffee.
What was the name of the lady that would blow stuff in your mouth again? A puffer? What was it? The thing that started
really inappropriate.
The thing that started what was it called?
It's called a thrush doctor.
Thrusher.
Way far away from puff doctor.
Puffer.
A puffer.
A thrush doctor that breathes into your mouth.
Yeah, you'll have to ask John about it. It was pretty.
Has he had it done? Has he been thrushed?
No, I think he learned that it was like a great grandmother's.
They got thrushed.
She thrushed others.
Oh, she was a thrusher.
She was thrusing,
not a thrushy.
No, she was the thrusher.
Okay,
I don't know where this is headed. Plucking gray hairs will make 2 more grow in. I have never heard of that.
Yeah, I have heard that. My wife says that all the time. She says it all the time. I don't know if I ever really thought about whether it was true or not. I really don't care.
I was going to say, I think there's some things you just don't put much thought into at all. Because it's like, it says each hair follicle only contains one hair, so plucking them would not cause another to grow in the same.
Right. Yeah, so let's go to the next one.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll just say it. Sitting too close to the TV ruins your eyes. I thought
that was true.
I thought it was too, but it's not. I actually had to look it up. It causes eye strain, but that will subside but it doesn't cause your eyes to like aggressively get worse.
I saw that meme where it said in the 70s my parents told me that sitting too close to the TV would hurt your eyes, and then the second half of the meme it showed kids with the virtual
Oculus,
reality on, like
the headset.
Okay,
Yeah. This is kind of weird that they even put this one in there. Cats suck babies' breath. I've heard that when I've heard it two ways. I've heard that when I've
never heard this one.
When a baby is sleeping, a cat will climb into the crib and like breathe in its breath as it comes out because there's something about baby's breath, the way it smells or something. And then the other one I heard is that a cat will crawl into the crib at night and lay on a baby's face because of the warmth of its breath. And that's why you're supposed to keep a cat away.
So would that
from a
make the
newborn.
baby the thresher and they're threshing the cat?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay. It all comes back to threshing.
May come from a 300-year-old case in which a child was supposedly strangled to death by a cat. How it's strangled, I don't know, because they don't have an opposable thumb. They said more than likely the baby passed from sudden infant death syndrome. This took a dark turn.
Yeah, let's move to the
It says
next
monitor
one.
your pets around babies, but your cat will not suck the baby's breath. Now, I thought this had something to it, but shaving makes hair grow back thicker.
I've been told that. I have a very thick beard. When I shave, it comes back the same every time.
Yeah, it says because shaving cuts the hair off at a blunt angle, it can feel thicker and look more noticeable as it grows back in.
Okay, another one?
I didn't understand this one, and John actually had to explain it to me, but hair of the dog cures a hangover. Hangover cures a hangover.
Hair of a dog?
Yeah. I was like, what hair? Like, who's eating dog hair like the next
Just
day?
having a dog with you or around?
No, he said hair of the dog is what you call waking up with a hangover and then immediately drinking more because it gets rid of the hangover. He said they call that hair of the dog.
I can't see how that would work. I mean, introducing alcohol into an already alcohol-drenched system doesn't seem to me to cure the hangover.
Yeah, it says this first appeared in print in 1546, but it's never been true.
Okay.
The only cure for a hangover is waiting it out.
Black coffee doesn't help.
Cracking knuckles can cause arthritis.
Oh, boy, is this true?
No, it's false.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought there was some legit science behind
I would
it,
have
too.
fallen for that one. I would have, if you were mixing in false ones with true ones, I would have said that was a true.
According to Cedars-Sinai orthopedic surgeon Dr. Robert Clapper, MD, that
When you're citing Clapper, I'm not.
hey, at least his name isn't Richard Clapper. The cracking sound is just nitrogen bubbles in the fluid that lubricates your joints. If, however, you feel pain or discomfort while cracking, that may be a sign of an issue.
Let's see if somebody other than Clapper has addressed this issue.
I mean, the dude works at
Knuckles.
Cedars-Sinai orthopedic.
That's the other thing.
Out in California.
Would you go to that place? Cyanide? Isn't that
Cedars,
some kind of poison they put in Tylenol?
No, it's like a big hospital in Los Angeles.
Popping knuckles
I only know this because of the movie Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones. They have to
cause
Cedars-Sinai is in danger.
Cause arthritis. Now I'll tell you this. One thing I always was told, it wasn't that it would cause arthritis. It was that it would make your knuckles bigger. Okay, I'll accept this.
Dr. Clapper?
No. Okay, the short answer is no. According to Houston Methodist orthopedics and sports medicine doctor John Fackler. Why we got Clapper and Fackler?
I don't know, but those are going to be the last names of characters in my upcoming movie.
That needs to be the name of a law firm.
Clapper and
Hello, Clapper and Fackler.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go there for any kind of...
There are no known detrimental effects to cracking your knuckles. At worst, knuckle cracking may cause temporary swelling or feeling of weakness in the hands, but arthritis, not quite. Oh, Harvard Health. No, cracking your knuckles can aggravate people around you, but it probably is not going to raise your risk for arthritis. So now there's Harvard. See if
you can't
if you
argue
keep
with
going
Harvard.
up the food chain.
Conan O'Brien went to Harvard, so you can't argue with that.
All right, next.
Okay, so this is a kind of a trick one. I know what your reaction will be, and then we'll talk about it. Eating carrots will give you better eyesight.
I think there's truth to that, but it's not necessarily carrots. It's the fact that they have vitamin D, which is good for your eyes, or E.
So what they do is they say eating more carrots won't help fix poor eyesight, explains Berkeley Health. the beta carotene A vitamins help maintain normal vision. So they are good to help maintain normal vision. Right. This myth dates back to the British Royal Air Force during World War II. They used radar to shoot down enemy planes for the first time, but spread a rumor that eating more carrots gave them better eyesight to fool the Allied forces, and they believe that's where this wives' tale came from, which is pretty interesting. All right, so here's the next one. Being cold will give you one, which I've been told that.
I was always told don't go outside with a sweaty head when it's cold outside because it'll give you a cold.
But this says the bottom line is you only get sick when you're exposed to a virus or bacteria. So being cold or having a wet head, none of that necessarily will make you sick. The 5-second rule. No one really believes the 5-second rule, or at least I would hope not.
It's not true?
No.
That if you wait 5 seconds,
Right. Because the second it touches that surface, bacteria immediately attaches itself to whatever
I stay
food
sick.
is. I mean, I've upped it to the 10-second rule. Look,
when it's good food, it's
right? If I drop that egg roll, I'm still gonna eat it.
Eat
I don't
that egg
care.
roll. Just dust it off. All right. Any more?
Yeah, this is the last one.
Okay.
We eat up to 8 spiders a year while we sleep. I thought that was
at your house, maybe.
Well, yeah, I had to have all those brown clothes. I'm surprised I'm not dead by now. Now, I've heard that bugs will crawl into our mouth while we sleep, but they're saying here that bugs don't do that because A, you move around so it scares them away, and B, they're not going to just crawl into an open mouth because it's warm and we're a predator.
Right. I've got one for you.
Okay.
Have you ever heard the saying, and if you haven't, I'll introduce you to one. Red sky at night, sailors delight. Red sky in the morning, sailors take warning.
Yes, I've heard that.
Is that true or false?
I really, honestly, I haven't put much thought into it. The only reason I know that phrase is because they use it in the movie The Burbs with Tom Hanks.
Okay. Red sky at night, sailors delight. Red sky in the morning, sailors take warning.
I mean, is that a war, like a wartime? Does red sky supposed to mean something?
Well, red sky means that the next day is going to be a nice day. It's a forecast. If you see a red or pinkish red sky in the morning, it means that you better get ready for some. And guess what? I woke up this morning and the sky was red. So that means we're going to get bad weather tonight. It's very true. And it's, believe it or not, it's from the Bible. Jesus said it. Jesus uttered, if there's a red sky at night, that the forecast will be good. Red sky in the morning, forecast is bad. And it made sense. They were on the water a lot and fishing, and
right.
And so
I'm assuming it's like the sun reflecting off bad weather.
I think so.
Clouds.
I think
far in the
I do
distance.
believe that there is a scientific basis for it. It's kind of like, I learned this one in meteorology. It's the only thing I learned, that if you see a plane in a bright blue sky leaving a big trail, a razor cut trail of vapor behind it, the white cloud that develops behind it.
You mean the chemtrail that they use to kill the population?
No. It's when it's when the planes are disrupting molecules and it creates the cloud.
Vapor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That if that happens, that there's like almost a 90-something% chance that in that location within 48 hours there'll be rain.
I have to keep track of that then and see if there's some.
So test me on the red sky at night. Sailors.
I don't wake up early enough to see a red sky.
Well, red sky in the morning, sailors. But red sky at night, if you're when you see that means the next day is going to be pretty.
Okay.
Red sky in the morning, sailors take warning. Now, you got to remember your morning hours are those, right, when that sun's coming up.
Yeah.
Right. Now,
well, I'm
I got a question
deficient,
for you.
So
I got to, now here, I'm putting it on the line because I know that how you are. And if that doesn't bear fruit, if that doesn't come out to be true, you're going to say, see, how can I believe anything else he said?
Oh, are you talking about biblically?
Yeah.
No, I will disagree with you on that. And this is why. And it's funny because when Kenny came over and talked. One of the things that he pointed out was that there are a lot of things in the Bible that maybe they didn't scientifically understand them at the time, but they pointed them out as like hygiene, right? Mm-hmm. So like back in the Middle East, way back when, they were washing their hands and washing their feet and stuff like that before they did certain things, eating and all that. I mean, and he, of course, was using that as like proof that the Bible has some substance to it. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. There's a lot of common sense stuff. Well, what we would consider common sense stuff now at the time was probably like groundbreaking, because let's face it, most people probably didn't wash their hands and brush their teeth.
Can you imagine what they washed them with, though?
I don't know what.
Like the feet washing that it sounds like, they would, first of all, they would anoint a lot of people. Like they'd use oil for everything, right? I was just reading this morning when I read the Bible every morning. And I was reading in Leviticus about the Levitical laws were, use oil for this, use oil for that, use oil for this. And I was thinking, man, I'm personally, I don't like the feel of oil on my hands.
I don't either.
And like some people, they like being really oiled up. I like lotion, but not oil.
Right. Well, the oil was maybe their lotion. They probably didn't have Jergens
back then. But it says use oil, olive oil for this, and the oil of a such and such for this, and the oil from this, and I was like, oh golly, I'm glad that and I don't know exactly what they did but they washed feet. I hope they didn't wash feet and hands in the same basin.
Water was also probably a lot cleaner back then. Rivers, I would assume in rivers and lakes and streams and stuff, it was probably far cleaner than what we're used to because of all the chemicals and stuff. But I think didn't they cook down animal fat and stuff and make soap out of animal fat? And that's how they...
It's really interesting to read in the first 3 chapters of Leviticus talk about the sacrificial system that God put in place for the sake of being sanctified or cleansed from sin. So you would go, and it was very important that whatever animal you brought for sacrifice, that you touched it on its head. And the symbolism of that is, okay, I've sinned, I've lied like 50 times in the last week, okay? And I need forgiveness of that. And it's like, so this animal is going to pay that sacrifice, but before it spills its blood, I got to touch it so that the sin goes from me into the animal.
That's interesting.
Then the animal becomes impure.
And then that's how they justified slaughtering
but listen, but you know what was interesting? They would slaughter it, and they had to sprinkle the blood on the altar. And then the certain parts of that animal that were burned, the burnt offering of it was the parts that would smell decent, and it says as a pleasing aroma to God.
Right.
But then the instruction was, take the rest of this and give it to Aaron and his sons so that it's not wasted. It's eaten by the priest that were performing the sacrifice.
Right.
In my mind, I'm envisioning these big, plump, fat, big guys that are the priests that are helping people do their sacrifices. And they're like, oh my gosh, we got a lot of leftover meat today.
I wonder if they went out and helped pick the animals out. They're like, that cow right there.
That looks like he has some great loin.
Yeah, he's going to be able to handle all your sins. So let's bring that
one over, PJ. Anyway, it's interesting. I like reading that stuff because to me, then when it makes sense that a lot of the prophecy was that the Lamb of God would be sacrificed, and of course that being Christ. So, and there had to be a spilling of blood, and if he
now the sacrifice of Christ was in order for them to stop doing animal sacrifice.
They did not have to have the animal sacrifices, right? In fact, that's also prophecy. Hey, yeah, man, all right, Jesus.
I know the animals are sitting there looking at him getting crucified. They're like, thank God.
Finally, somebody stepped up.
And then we still made hamburgers out of them.
That's
so
right.
they couldn't win for losing.
They did not know what was coming.
They couldn't win for losing.
We're gonna raise you to kill you. Once again, we have almost gone 30 minutes without getting to work.
Yes.
So guess what we're going to do next week? We're going to talk about work ethic. I needed today to be a day where we had some fun, and thank you for the wives' tales.
You're welcome.
It's interesting. And let me know if the Red Sky at Night Sailor's Delight thing. If you've see my grandma,
Sailor's Delight.
It's like Red Sky was boaters. It's like, okay, sailors.
So there was part that talked about Sailor's Delight. I think you're thinking of something else.
No, Red Sky at Night Sailor's Delight is how people have come to say it's going to be good weather. And then Red Sky in the morning, sailors take warning, okay?
I figured Sailor's Delight was like when they were coming into the docks.
Yeah. Okay, come on. You always can make it just turn south real fast. Yeah. All right. But thanks for the wives' tales. We'll talk next week. I was prepared to talk about a few things about work ethic.
And I ruined it.
No. I needed a good-hearted, fun episode. Every now and then we drop these in, and they're a lot of fun. So I hope our listeners liked it. We will just remind everybody that if they know someone or if they personally are in need of good representation from qualified lawyers that work hard every day, we hope they'll give us a call or check us out on all the different platforms of social media, or of course at our website, fwhlegal.com. So until next time, when we come to, I didn't even get to the high-rise white brick edifice part today. We jumped right in on cookie crumble.
You know what? I think this may have been the first one in a very long time.
Yeah. So closing down from the high-rise white brick edifice at 530 Frederick Street. This is PJ and Travis. Have a wonderful weekend.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery of a sham, of a mockery of a travesty of two mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!